Hello folks, this is Mike, and in this video we're going to be making this simple solid wood shoe rack. Now each one of the racks is made out of one piece of 8-foot long 1 by 12 material. Each rack will also hold 9 to 12 pairs of shoes, either loose or in shoe boxes. Construction is very simple. All square cuts, no fancy bevels or angles or complicated joinery. Believe me, you can do this. I'm building these for a customer, and what she wants is a solid wood painted white rack like this that will fit in her closet under her hang-up clothes. Now if you go online, there's just all kinds of shoe racks, but I didn't find anything just basic like this, especially something designed just for a novice woodworker's skills. But I tell you what, after this video today, there will be. Now in this video, I'm going to be using a sliding miter saw. Now if you don't have one of these or a table saw, don't despair. There will be a clickable link at the end of this video and in the video description that will take you to a video I made on how to make a square cut off jig. Very simple for your circular saw or your scroll saw. So be sure to check that out. Now before we get started, let me show you the board layout. This drawing shows you how each board will be cut. So you may want to jot this down, or I'll probably put a PDF of this in the video description. And if the shelves are too short or too long for you, you could adjust those. You've got an extra 8 or 9 inches left in the board. So this is what it looks like assembled. Now remember, when you're building this, that there's 5 1/4 inches from the ground to the bottom of this shelf. This shelf is 3/4 inches, so there's actually 6 inches from the bottom to the top of this shelf. And again, 6 inches from here to here. Now if you want to add an extra level or two, you can do that easily by just making your end pieces 6 inches higher for each level you want to add. I went down to Lowe's and I think I found the straightest 2 boards in the whole place. So we won't have to do any rip cuts on this project. So we'll start with our measurements for our cross cuts. And since I'm using the miter saw, I really only need to make one starting measurement. Now my shelves are 29 1/4 inches wide each. So that's going to be 58 1/2 inches for the 2. So I'm going to make a mark at 59 inches, and that's where we'll make the first cut. And that extra 1/2 inch will allow for the width of the saw blades and squaring the ends. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to make my first cut in the center of the board. It's more manageable and more accurate than trying to do it on the very end. When the cut is made, I'm going to mark the end of each board with SQ to indicate that that's my square cut. That way I won't inadvertently get the ends of the boards mixed up. Next, I'm going to take my aluminum yardstick and I'm going to set the saw stop at 29 1/4 inches exactly. I want a precision cut here. So now I take my 59-inch board, put it on the saw, snug it up against the fence, and slide the square end against the stop. Now I'm going to make the cut, and I'm going to get this first piece out of the way. I'll take the other piece and square it up against the fence and the stop, and make the second cut. And you have 2 precision cut shelves with the sliver left over for the scrap bin. Next, we reset the stop for 13 inches using the same process as before. And now we're going to cut off the other end of the board to make our 2 13-inch sides. And of course, they will also be precision cut. Before you start assembly, it's a good idea to inspect your boards now and fix any dents or gouges in them, putty them, and sand them before you go any further. But first, I want to round over the top corners. Now this is simple to do. You can use a coin, or you can just use a washer like I did here. Line it up with the edges and draw the arc. Then you can either take a sanding block or use a machine sander like I did here and round these over. And of course you want to sand it down carefully to that pencil arc you drew. Now these surfaces in this area are going to be hard to paint with a brush. So I'm going to pre-paint those before assembly, and I'm also going to paint the inside of the ends. And we'll paint 3 coats. Now before we assemble anything, I've cut out some clamping blocks. They are 5 1/4 inches high and 4 1/2 inches wide. And if you'll remember, that 5 1/4 is the exact distance between our shelves. I used a piece of scrap with a couple of good square edges, and then I cut them out on my miter saw. I then used my combo square and marked off 2 inches on each side, and then drilled out the intersection. I cut them on my scroll saw, and this is what they should look like when you're done. Now before we put it together, I'm going to go ahead and mark the ends. I'm going to draw a line where the screw holes will go. We need to do this now because when we finish assembling, the clamps will be in the way. And I'm going to draw lines at 5 5/8 inch, and then again at 11 5/8 of an inch. That way our screw holes will be in the exact middle of the shelf. So now we're ready for assembly. Now I put some blue tape on the unpainted parts to help with positioning the boards. Remember, we've already painted the inside surfaces, so we need to make sure we get those in the right place. Now one critical thing that you need to make sure to do is that you get the bracket bottoms even with the bottom of each side piece. If they are not even and the bracket is not installed straight up and down, it'll throw everything off. So this is a pretty exacting process. I use clamp pads made from scrap under the clamps to protect the finish. It would also be a good idea to put a little wax paper under the pad as well. I forgot this step, and I had some trouble with pads getting stuck to the paint. Now this assembly technique may seem tedious, it may seem awkward, but I tried several other ways to do this, and the problem I kept having is that I couldn't get everything even and squared up. So I resorted to this method. So once you have all 4 blocks and all 4 clamps positioned on the bottom, then you can start on your second tier. And we're going to do it exactly like we did the bottom tier. And just make sure that the bottoms of the top brackets fit snugly against the bottom shelf. And finally, as you can see, we're going to clamp that top board into place. And if you've got it right, it should be square. Now when you have it put together, the lines we drew should be on the outside, not the inside. Now this is supposed to be a simple beginner's project. So to join the ends, I'm just going to use screws. However, if you're a seasoned woodworker, you could use any joinery system you want to use here. Now we'll take our combo square and lay out our screw holes on that line. There will be 2 center holes. Each one will be 3 3/4 of an inch from the end. And while the combo square is already set, we'll go ahead and lay out the top and the bottom holes. Next, we'll mark all 4 outside holes, and we'll set our combo square this time at 3/4 of an inch. And now we're ready to start drilling. We'll be using number 8 by 2 inch Phillips head screws, and I've sort of sized my countersink to that length. And of course this is a number 8 countersink. Now be sure to make your countersink hole maybe 1/8 of an inch deeper than normal, so we'll have room to top over the top of it with some putty. And if you plan to use wood plugs, you'll need to go even deeper. Now if I remove the clamps to drill the other 4 holes, everything will come out of alignment. So we're going to go ahead and sink these 4 first. Also folks, if you like what you see in this video, please go below and like it. And also we'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell. Now we can safely remove the clamps and countersink the 4 remaining holes and then install our screws. And then we'll repeat the process for the other end of the rack. I used 120 grit sandpaper and sanded around the holes to make sure it was absolutely smooth. Then I took some putty and I filled the holes. Now what I'm using here is called Dry Dex. This goes on blue and it will dry to a white color. And you can use an 1.5 or 2 inch flexible putty knife to apply it with. Of course you could just as easily use the wood filler like we did before. Now putty products like this can sometimes shrink when they dry, so we're going to mound this up over the hole a little bit and then just sand it off smooth. I let it sit overnight so that it would dry thoroughly, and you can see it's turned completely white. That means it's ready for sanding. And I used 120 grit sandpaper on my random orbit sander here, and we'll sand it flush and then inspect your work and make sure that you don't have any like this one that needs some more putty. So the final task is to do a little painting, and I'm going to paint each end cap here with 2 coats of paint. And as you can see, it's going to cover these holes very nicely, and there'll be no indication that they were ever there. So here it is, all finished. It may not be elegant, but it is certainly sturdy and it's certainly functional, isn't it? And you know what? I think you need one in your house. So if you've got questions or something you'd like to share, please send me a comment and I will get back to you. And we really appreciate you tuning in today. So folks, until next time, thanks for watching.